I'd like to read for you a story from the Gospel of Luke, the 10th chapter. It's actually the story of Mary and Martha. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to Jesus and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister's left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." If I were to go into the sanctuary to lead worship wearing a dress, that would be considered shockingly inappropriate. If a woman were to come into the sanctuary to worship without a top on, that would be considered shockingly inappropriate. If I were to stand up in the pulpit and spew forth a line of profanities that would make Satan himself blush, that would be considered shockingly inappropriate. Now let's take a look at the story of Mary and Martha. Jesus comes to the home of Mary and Martha is doing what culturally she's supposed to do. She's supposed to show hospitality for her guests and get everything ready for her, while Mary is sitting at the feet of Jesus. Now, if we were a first century Jewish audience, when I said Mary is sitting at the feet of Jesus, there would have been a collective gasp. Because to sit at the feet of a rabbi was a man's position. Not a woman's, a man's position. And what Mary was doing would be considered shockingly inappropriate. 99.9% of the people in Jesus' day, men and women, would have sided with Martha on this one and said what Mary's doing is totally inappropriate. But Martha has her share of guilt in this as well, because Martha then marches up to Jesus and says, "Don't you care that she's left me to do all the work? Tell her to come help me." Another collective gasp. Because it was shockingly inappropriate for a woman to tell a man what to do in Jesus' culture, let alone for a woman to tell a rabbi what to do. Shockingly inappropriate. Jesus' response is interesting, because throughout the Gospels, Jesus treats men and women basically equally. So he blows off the fact that Mary is doing something inappropriate and Martha is doing something inappropriate. And he simply says, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." Now, he doesn't say what Martha was doing was wrong. It has to be done. But he said, in this instance, Mary has chosen the better, and it will not be taken away. I have to admit that oftentimes I feel like Martha. I feel like I'm distracted by so much that has to be done. Finance reports, council reports, meetings to attend, hospitals to visit from Columbus to Cleveland, sermons to write, classes to prepare, funerals, weddings, counseling. There is so much that has to be done that I very rarely take the time to sit at the feet of Jesus. And I'll bet I'm not alone. I'll bet most of you have schedules that are filled with so many things that it's almost impossible to find the time to sit at the feet of Jesus. In fact, the truth is, you won't find the time. you won't find the time to sit at the feet of Jesus, because there will never be that magic moment when everything is done, there's nothing else that has to be done, and you can sit at the feet of Jesus. We won't find the time. We have to make the time. We have to make the time to sit at the feet of Jesus. Now, don't do it at bedtime because you fall asleep. Don't do it at a time when you feel like taking a nap. Do it at a time when you are alert. And what I'm talking about is this. I'm talking about 2 to 3 times a week, taking some time to practice some spiritual discipline, to sit at the feet of Jesus. There's a couple of ways we can do this. One is to find a quiet place. Maybe it's a place in your home, maybe it's a place outside, but a quiet place where there's no distractions. And sit there and close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, picture Jesus in your mind. Picture what you think he looks like. And as you picture Jesus, ask yourself the question, what expression's on his face as he's looking at you? What's the expression on his face? Is it an expression of love, of concern, of worry? What expression does Jesus have on his face? And then, in silence, ask yourself, what is Jesus trying to say to you in that particular moment? Take 5 to 10 minutes. See if Jesus has something to say to you in that particular moment. To visualize him. To visualize his expression. To picture in your mind what he might be saying to you at that moment. Now there's another discipline you can practice too, which goes into the Bible. And that's, first of all, again, find a quiet place. Then open up the Bible to a story in one of the Gospels. And put yourself there as one of the participants and experience it. For example, the story we just read of Mary and Martha. Pick one of the people there. Suppose you wanted to be Mary. How does it feel to be doing all the busy work? How does it feel to see your sister sitting there doing nothing, but just listening to Jesus? Or if you want to be Mary, picture how does it feel to be sitting at the feet of Jesus and have him teaching you and speaking to you? And then how does it feel to have your sister come over and yell at you for it and tell Jesus to do something about it? And as you experience the story, ask yourself, what is God trying to teach me through this story? Spend some time in the story. Be there. Picture everything. And ask yourself, what is God trying to teach me in this story? There may be some stories where, well, I can't really come up with anything. Or there may be some stories where God has an incredible teaching waiting for you if you just take the time. If you just take the time for silence and to listen, to be in the story. I know we're all really busy people. And I've heard people ask the question, are you a Mary person or a Martha person? And the truth is you can't be one or the other. You have to be both. There's work that has to be done. Some of it is busy work. Some of it is work that's really, really important. But there's always work that has to be done. But sometimes we need to take the time to be Mary and to sit at the feet of Jesus. At our last church council meeting, the president of council challenged our council members to take 2 to 3 times a week and practice one or both of those disciplines. To either sit silently and picture Jesus and his expression and what he's saying to you, or to sit silently and put yourself in one of these stories and experience the story and see what God is teaching you. I challenge our congregation and its members to do the same thing. And I challenge you to do the same thing. Find the time. Make the time. Make the time 2 to 3 times a week to practice one of these disciplines. Yes, there's a lot of work that has to be done. There's always work that has to be done. But we must make some time to sit at the feet of Jesus. In his holy name, amen.